By now, everyone has realized Tomorrowland feels stuck. And when you start looking around, you realize something odd. There are more closed doors than open ones. Out of all the empty and abandoned corners of Tomorrowland, there's one that's different than all the rest. It's not a leftover track or hidden platform or something you can only spot if you squint, because it's a giant movie theater, fully built right into the most popular part of the entire land. And it might be the easiest win that Disneyland has ever chosen to ignore. It's the fastest edit they could make to Tomorrowland. And the fact that they haven't, well, that might be telling us something much bigger. Brickey here, and doing what we do on this channel, studying Disneyland's past so we can better predict its future. And today we're going to start in its depressing Tomorrowland. Friends, make sure you take a quick second to subscribe to the channel so you can keep time traveling with me into the past so we better understand the future. Let's go back to the 80s. You might think of this theater as the birthplace to Michael Jackson's Captain EO, but its history is so much more complicated than that. Different stages, different names, different eras, different shows, and now a very different conclusion. But possibly the most diverse space in all of Tomorrowland that could be Disney's quickest win. Tucked right in front of Space Mountain, you'll see a long blank wall. Most people that don't know better just assume that this is backstage. Behind those closed doors is a 500-seat theater. And the craziest thing is, this building is fully capable of running a film or immersive show today. Like right now, today. Disney just decides that it won't. The last time it was the permanent home for an attraction, which closed in 2010. That's 15 years that it's mostly been used for previews, some Marvel teasers, Guardian of the Galaxy's first film, and a Star Wars montage called Path of the Jedi. And then quietly, nothing. It hasn't been used for the public at all. And so for over the last decade, it is set empty, abandoned. Many fans have noticed this is especially strange when you consider since then Disney has Disney Plus and is constantly creating content for their streaming platform, that they're always trying to find unique ways to market here inside of the Disneyland Resort. Not to mention all the other Lucasfilm, Marvel, Disney, Pixar, and Nat Geo. Why is the space inside of Disneyland that was literally designed to screen content not screening anything at all? That's what we're going to get to the bottom of today. Let's rewind to give you a sense of what used to sit behind those walls. Before the previews took over the theater, Captain EO was there for a limited tribute after Michael Jackson passed away. It ran from 2010 to 2014. Before that was the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience era, one of Disneyland's first true 4D attractions. But before Rick and the gang took over the building, from 1986 to 1997, Captain EO, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, produced by George Lucas, starring Michael Jackson, it was Disney's first attempt to really putting pop culture inside of Disneyland. Michael Eisner's vision was to youthen the park up, make it more hip, and in the process, impress his son. Something that a lot of folks don't know is that its very first show that ran in this space was Magic Journeys, which is a dreamy, surreal 3D film about the art of imagination, childhood, and wonder. And if you watch it in today's context, it is trippy to say the least. Magic Journeys displays an early version of Imagineering collaborating with filmmaking. This merger of those two different disciplines and art forms eventually would go on to start Pixar. And Pixar wasn't a studio, it was a computer. So the Magic Eye Theater itself, it's not just a building, it was a stage for some of Disney's most creative swings, but it wasn't always here. What existed before the Magic Eye Theater, and uniquely, there is an opportunity to go back. Way before this was an entertainment space, before the theater existed, there was an attraction that sat right here. Early days of Tomorrowland, this space was home to the famous Flying Saucers, a short-lived ride where guests floated on air-cushioned discs and bumped into each other. It was bumper cars, but in the future. It was unique. It was a maintenance nightmare. The saucers constantly broke down and moved very few guests per hour. So by the late 1960s, Disneyland was ready to shut it down. And friends, this is where the first really interesting shift happens on this plot of land. Disney would take an entertainment gamble, and it would pay off, because instead of replacing an attraction with another attraction, they decided to go a different way creatively and turn this area into a stage. Back in 1967, this was the Tomorrowland stage with folding chairs like you would see at any church basement. It was an active placeholder for a ride that Walt wanted to build, but needed technology to catch up with his imagination. And eventually, it would catch up. The Tomorrowland Space Stage opened in 1977 as part of the build-out around Space Mountain. Literally, this exact space used to be an open-air venue with a colorful backdrop, and it could seat 1,500 people. And friends, it was active all day long. During the day, it hosted character shows, musical acts, and family-friendly reviews. But at night, jazz performances, celebrity concerts, even a science fiction rock band called Helix in the summer of 1981. Make sure you check out Kevin Perjure's documentary on Helix over on Defunctland. It's fantastic. So for nearly a decade, the space stage succeeded where the flying saucers hadn't. It entertained a lot of people quickly and affordably. Disneyland had swapped an unreliable ride for a flexible, high-capacity entertainment. And for a while, it worked. But in the 1980s, Disney saw an opportunity to do something much bigger, but in the exact same footprint. So in 1984, Disneyland began enclosing the old space stage. But this wasn't just a cosmetic upgrade. It was so much more than that. This was a full-on transformation, converting an open-air entertainment platform into a state-of-the-art indoor theater, built directly into the base of Space Mountain. Everywhere where you see the theater today was once completely open to the elements. The roof, the walls all around it, this was an open-air amphitheater that one day they decided to put a roof on, to build some walls, and close it in. So you might not notice it from above, but it was a carefully engineered space and transformation of an existing entertainment spot inside of the park. And if you think about this from a design perspective, which you know I have, it had to fit underneath the coaster. It had direct traffic flowing in and out without disrupting Tomorrowland's footpaths. And it had to feel futuristic. Even when showing a 3D film from the 1980s, it was still ahead of its time. Magic Eye Theater was purpose-built, high-capacity film venue with dual projectors, motion seats, and a dedicated control space, and effects that could support lasers, fog, synchronized sound, and even a floor and seat that had vibrations and movement. This was more than just a room with a screen in it. It was built to be immersive. The storytelling was not only on the screen, but everywhere around you. And it would make sense that Star Tours would come next after they'd seen the success of this idea on a smaller scale. And this is where it kind of gets crazy when we think about it sitting unused for so long now. The theater operated with remarkable efficiency. Large holding rooms would prep each audience, while cast members synced the show and controls from the control booth directly inside. Shows rotated all day, no shade needed, no weather interruptions, no downtime. In simple design terms and park operations, this building is a win. It checks every operational box needed for success. And yet, today, and for the last 5 years, it has sat silent. The doors are locked, the lights are off, just waiting for anything that's better than nothing. But what is it waiting for? From an infrastructure standpoint, this might be the smartest building in Tomorrowland because it doesn't take much to reactivate it, which only adds to the current silence being so confusing because all the other dead spaces inside of Tomorrowland are stitched together by a chain of events. To fix one, you kind of got to fix them all. But the Magic Eye Theater is isolated. built after everything else, built independently of Space Mountain. It was a conversion. It could either be converted back to being open or even converted back to being an open space. Unlike all the other stalled out areas in Tomorrowland, attractions that would require full demolition or hundreds of millions of dollars to modernize, the Magic Eye Theater, it's ready today. It's literally a plug and play building, a venue that could be running in weeks, not years. Because think about it, you already have the infrastructure, you already have the equipment, and you already own one of the world's biggest entertainment catalogs. The demand is there. Disneyland constantly needs more capacity, places where people can sit, rest, and still be immersed in the Disneyland story. This is where the Magic Eye Theater could shine. Why they're not screening Disney Plus exclusive content in here, or behind the scenes Pixar shorts, Imagineering documentaries, or a curated reel of Disneyland history. There are endless possibilities that could go right in there, but they have chosen the most bizarre possibility, nothing. But I think this nothingness is a big indication on what the future holds. And before we talk about the why nothing's happening, let's talk about why does it have to stay this way? The theater is tucked under Space Mountain, but it's completely self-contained. It doesn't anchor any other attractions, and it doesn't feed into a larger path. If it vanished tomorrow, the average guest wouldn't miss it. Let's just think about this for a moment. If you were to clear it out, bring back the space stage, a modern outdoor venue that could host character shows during the day, but go back to having concerts inside of Disneyland, a space that would sit 1,500 people and have a upcharge for special events, could be exactly what Disneyland needs in these transformative years of Tomorrowland. But even if that's too far-fetched and we go back to thinking of it as a stage, why hasn't it been used as a Magic Key perk or a perk for DVC members? Like, there's an easy way to make this a little something extra for those that are spending something extra. But instead, Disney is doing nothing. Not the quick fix, not the bold swing, just silence, which I think tells us something huge about the future and about the future of Tomorrowland. Because friends, I believe this isn't just neglect, it's a strategic pause, because you don't leave a show, ready theater, unused in the middle of the busiest land in the park unless you have a much bigger reason. And I think the reason might be Tomorrowland itself. Here's the theory. Disney doesn't want to put a single dollar into this building, and not because it's not worth it, but because they don't know if it fits into the future plan. And that future, I believe, it's still being drawn. Imagine you're trying to redesign Tomorrowland. You don't want to commit to a show here, or rip out the building, or use it for Magic Key perks, because any of those decisions tie your hands to later. So you decide to do the easy thing, the one thing that keeps all of your options open, nothing. And that's exactly what we're seeing, nothing. No content, no events, no alternate use as a lounge, museum, or bonus show or perks. And strangely, not even a pre-show for Space Mountain, which, let's be honest, is a 90-minute wait with zero narrative buildup. There's a whole building right below it that could hold the people and expand the story, but it doesn't get used. And it could easily fix some of the problems with Space Mountain on the busiest of days. And in a land where nothing seems to move forward, this empty building might actually be the loudest clue that something is about to. A slight indication that Tomorrowland's future may be closer than what we think, because Disneyland doesn't leave magic on the table unless they're planning a bigger trick. Thank you so much for showing up with me today as we looked into the past of Disneyland to predict its future. And I would love for you to predict the future. What would you do with this space, and why do you think they've ignored it for over the last 5 years? Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate all of you. Can't wait to see you next Saturday.